Hi there, I'm Andrew, you're watching That Gamer Ajax, and welcome to this week's episode of the D&D Class Basics series, where we kind of walk through a very informal overview of the classes in D&D. So if you're new, we can give you a little bit of information so you can decide which class is right for you. This time we're talking about the Wizard, the spell-slinging master of the arcane out of all the D&D classes, and very unique because it is actually one of two intelligence-based classes in the game. While this class has a lot of strengths going for it, particularly if you are playing a higher level character, it does struggle a little bit in the beginning, but let's go ahead and dive right into some of those strengths, shall we? So first, wizards are able to learn almost an unlimited number of spells in the game due to their overall study of the arcane. That's kind of what makes a wizard a wizard. Now, you can only have a certain number of these spells prepared per day, and that is based on your intelligence score, plus the level of wizard that you're playing. But it does turn out to be quite a bit more than almost any other class in the game. And while a lot of other classes that use magic have to get their spells back on a long rest, with the exception of the warlock, the wizard is able to, at least once a day, use a trait that you get at level 1 called arcane recovery. Now this allows you to recover a certain number of spells that is equal to half of your character's level, so it's not particularly great early on, but the more that you play wizard, the more spells that you get back during that little bit of downtime, which in most D&D games is around an hour. Another strength of the wizard is that it is able to change out its spells after finishing a long rest, which is usually that 8 hours of downtime that your character normally is kind of taking things easy and sleeping. So this means that if you have some spells that aren't necessarily working for you in that particular day, you can swap them out to any of the other known spells that you have, which again is just a lot because you are a wizard. You are this master of the arcane. Now, because wizards also focus on different schools of magic, there are a ton of options if you are looking to play a wizard. I know that I've played a wizard before in the past, and it's the divination wizard, which focuses on kind of telling the future, and it was a ton of fun to play. Now, these types of magic are going to depend on more of what you want. Like, do you want to focus on transmutation? Do you want to focus more on battle? Wizards have a ton of options available, and because you're able to learn almost any type of magic, you are that master of the arcane. You just have so many options and so many capabilities, especially the longer that you play this class. Now, also, when it comes to the wizard having a nearly unlimited potential, the longer that you play this, the more reward you're going to get out of it. When it comes to copying spells, it does take you a little bit of time and resources, at least explained in the book, is that this is what you are having to experiment and learn that spell to add it into your spell book. Because of this, you are nearly unstoppable at the end of the game. At least out of the people that I've talked to, wizards are probably one of the most overpowered classes when you get into those very late levels. We're talking levels 15 through 20 for the upper levels, but early on, you're going to still be a little bit weak. Now let's go ahead and get into the weaknesses of the wizard. Particularly early on, wizards are one of the weakest classes. You only get a d6 of health per level. This is at the same level as the sorcerer, and a very common running joke when it comes to the D&D community is that if a wizard trips and falls at level 1, you're probably going to die. While this isn't necessarily true, it is one of those cases where, at least in combat scenarios, you really need to make sure that you are taking a step back and you are really focusing on being behind your front line because of how little health you actually have. Wizards also have to focus a lot on using cantrips early on, which are small free spells that they can use unlimited times per day, but do have overall limited effects. Now, because of the way that this class scales, you quickly overcome this, at least in the early levels, but just be prepared to run out of spells on a pretty regular basis, at least very early on. Wizards can also be a little intimidating for new players because of the number of spells that you can get and the number of spells that you can cast. It just requires you to know a lot about your character. If you plan on playing Wizard, make sure that you speak with your DM beforehand, just that way you can work together to determine what spells might be the best for you or what are some good universal spells that your character should have ready to go at any given time. So in conclusion, Wizards are the perfect class if you are a player that is interested in learning how to use magic in D&D. It scales astronomically, especially compared to a lot of the other classes, and it can be a ton of fun to play. It might be a little intimidating starting out, but trust me, this is a class that if you are interested in investing in a character, you will be rewarded for your efforts. So I want to go ahead and just put some thoughts out to the community. What is your favorite type of wizard? What are some tips that you might be able to give to a new wizard player? Just go ahead and get a conversation going in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.